Well, welcome back to Global Environment, and we're going to end our overview of conservation biology, biodiversity here with a look at this new field of conservation biology, which is exploded in response basically to all of the issues that we have been discussing here in terms of this biodiversity crisis and basically trying to find some solutions for the welfare of nature, but for our own selves as well. Conservation biology it basically didn't exist 20 years ago, and it's taken off now. There are new college programs everywhere, a whole new profession, class of jobs. It's basically the applied science of maintaining the Earth's biological diversity. It has been called the fastest growing scientific discipline, at least in the last decade. It's an interesting field that has its roots in many different parts, especially in biology. Basically, ecology, evolutionary biology, how life forms, ecology, how it interacts, systematics, how we classify and identify life. Understanding all this, but then integrating it with the politics and realities of problem solving in the day-to-day political arena of human affairs is what conservation biology is essentially all about. Applied biology applied to saving species. There's about three essentially main dimensions to this and strains that you can pursue as an individual, as a professional, although many people go back and forth. But one is simply basically the surgeon at the operating table with the sick patient, and that is, for example, dealing with endangered species. They are in bad shape right now. How do we keep them from going extinct? And that's very hands-on management, immediate sorts of treating immediate symptoms, consequences of small populations, analyzing, predicting what will happen. Was this more important to do versus that for saving a particular species? Captive breeding in zoos, reintroductions, maybe identifying habitats, critical habitats for species, but very much immediate, short-term, save this species while we can sort of work. That's the first strain. The second strain is actually stepping back a little bit and not so much looking at the really endangered and threatened components of nature, but basically saying, what do we need to do to keep the whole system healthy and functioning? And so this is a bit of a more holistic approach to communities, to landscapes, to ecosystems, but focusing on issues of, as I mentioned, landscape ecology, patterns of life, what are the keystone species in the environment that need to be kept healthy to keep the other ones happy. It's stepping back and taking a whole systems view of the environment in order to save biodiversity, but it's a much more efficient, potentially much more economical way to save biodiversity than doing species by species once they get sick. This is keeping the whole system going and healthy and productive. The third strain is basically focusing on getting all this into the political arena. Scientists are great at framing problems, identifying problems, but actually achieving results is another matter. And conservation biologists are completely cognizant of this, that they need to do the best science and deliver the best science possible. But at some point, it's a question of advocacy, it's a question of politics, it's a question of getting involved with everything else that's happening in the human political environment and trying to get their voices heard to deal with these very important issues. So the conservation biology is actually not at all shy about saying, yes, we're first and foremost scientists, but we'll roll up our sleeves and get out there with everybody else and fight for what we believe in. And sometimes they're criticized, frankly, for being a little bit too involved in advocacy. At some point, the data just aren't there, and you just have to say what you feel and believe. But nevertheless, this working within political and social realities, problem solving, getting the job done with the time available, sometimes with incomplete information, is what conservation biologists do. So I'll just end our overview there in terms of this field, what biodiversity is, the crisis, the threats, why it's important, and what conservation biology is. I just want to end here with this point, which is this is a fascinating time in the history of the human species. We are still in a period of rapid population growth, but actually things are changing. Population growth rates are slowing. We don't know where we're going to end up here, maybe twice the current population, maybe half of it. The decisions we make just in the next 20, 30 years are going to be absolutely critical to the future of life on Earth. And that's basically in the period of the careers of you and me. And it's an interesting time to be alive and to see the extent to which we will succeed, which we will prioritize, which we will successfully advocate for our own affairs and by extension for the affairs of the rest of life that we share the planet with. So I'll end there, and thank you very much for being here for Global Environment, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week.